What's up, everybody? It's me, Erica, and this is your Bridgerton review. Let me get to my notes. They're in my phone this time, so let's see how it's a lot of notes. I didn't realize I took so many notes, but it's actually faster when I type it in my phone or talk to text in my phone. It's actually much easier. Anyways, we're on episode 7. We have one more episode to go. We also have two more episodes of Bling Empire to go as well. Episode 7 of Bling Empire will be recorded this week, so we'll talk about that this week. And we do have several hot topics that we want to talk about, baby. So we'll probably do hot topics maybe later. Maybe I'll come back later on this evening and do it and upload it in the morning. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But we have a few things we want to talk about. Also want to let you guys know over here on this channel, I am on a certain frequency, right? If you ever turn to this channel and it's not vibrating on the same frequency as you, then you can empower yourself and make the choice to change the channel. When I tell you to protect your energy, I mean that. If you ever turn to my channel and it's not vibrating, we're harmonizing frequencies over here. We're not matching energy, right? So if you come over here and it's not harmonizing with where you are in that moment, feel free, right? You are an autonomous human being and you have the free will to make choices that will benefit you, right? So if that happens, please don't stay here. Change the channel. All right. All right. So Daphne is practicing piano and the Duke is outside shooting pigeons. And it's a funny scene because they're actually going back and forth, kind of passively, aggressively speaking to each other with gunshots and the tunes from a piano. She's playing really hard. He's shooting the birds as hard as he can. It's a mess. They're just playing tit for tat. They're mad at each other because we know what happened on the last episode. So when they're at dinner, no one is talking, and Daphne suggests to the housekeeping staff to move all of her things to the Duchess's quarters or the Duchess's room because the honeymoon is over. The Duchess needs to go to her chamber. He explains, he says, I just need to make sure that your conjugal efforts didn't come to fruition. He said conjugal efforts. That was so funny to me. Yes, lady, since you assaulted me, I need to make sure you're not pregnant and then we can move on. But until then, I need to keep my eye on you. So she was like, I wouldn't keep that from you, right? So now they're playing that game, right? So Lady Whistledown Circular comes out and it explains that Colin is in a scandal. The circular reaches Daphne over at Cliveden and she's like, I gotta hurry up and go and see about my brother. As she's getting up to leave, Simon's like, where are you going? She's like, my brother's in a scandal. I have to go see about him. He was like, well, while we don't know if you're pregnant or not, you're not going to leave my sight. So I'll be going with you. And she makes this comment to the staff, like, make sure that the carriage is large because I'm going to need my space. And in Lady Whistledown's circular, it's talking about Marina Thompson's fall from grace and that it was nothing more than a sham. Colin looks like he's so upset. And what Marina did is not only I don't know, like a stain on her, it's a stain on the entire Featherington family. Eloise is getting ready to, for her coming out, right? So they're preparing for that. To her resistance, right? Because we know Eloise is a girl that is not for tradition. She doesn't feel like she needs a man to make her valuable. She feels like she should feed her brain, and that is going to make her valuable. Shout out to Eloise. I love her. So Featherington takes Marina to a convent. She's really trying to figure out where people will take her because she wants to basically get rid of her because she's messed up the family's name. And the faster we get rid of her, the faster we can get back into society and people forget, that she has any, relation to us. Honey, the nun at the convent was like, you want us to take her in for what she's what? Okay, girl, well, you can give us some money. We take charity. What she say? Charity requires funds, and I'm sure you have a lot of it. So we know that the Featheringtons have lost money because the father is a gambler, right? So we know that. So she can't go to the convent because they're like, girl, if you want us to take this pregnant lady, we are going to we're gonna need some money if that's what we're gonna do, right? So Colin, he wants to see Marina, and they're telling him that you can't see her or you will be blamed for her being pregnant. So we're now that we know she's with child, you cannot be anywhere near her. They take it very seriously. So Daphne arrives. They're like, "What are you doing here? Like, what? Aren't you guys supposed to be in your honeymoon phase? What the hell are you doing here? Is the honeymoon already over?" Everybody's looking at her like, "Girl, what's up?" The mother is looking like, "Well, that will be great because if the Duke and the Duchess are here, that will say that they still accept us. And so everybody in society will be okay with us. And we could just act like nothing's ever happened." So, Daphne is mad at her mom, right? Because she didn't tell her about sex. She didn't give her nothing, no information to her. And so she's kind of like making snaps at her mother. And she was like, "Yeah, we could just pretend like nothing's ever happened, right?" We could just talk about things and just make everybody feel like they're unaware of everything going on around them, right? She was so mad and violent. Anyways, Daphne tells Colin, "You didn't know that girl, and if you want to meet her, we can schedule a chaperone visit. So I know you want to see her or whatever." But he goes like, he needs closure. He needs to cuss her ass out one more time before he lets her go." Daphne agrees and she says, "But it will be chaperoned." Okay. So Will and the Duke are over there fighting. He goes and sees his friend when he's in town. And he was like, "What's happening with the honeymoon phase? Why are you guys back so early? Because you guys are really supposed to be, in your honeymoon phase." And he was like, he made some comment about marriage and you not being able to do anything about it once you're in it. And then Simon's like, "I took a vow." And he was like, "You see what I mean?" I told you, you act like you can't get out. You can get out if you want to. All these vows that you keep making, child, you can get out if you want to. Don't stick in nothing that ain't serving you, honey. That's not for me. That's for you. That's not for Duke. That's for whoever needs to hear it. So Simon comes home. When he comes home after fighting Will, he sees Daphne. And Daphne's opening the door because, they're not in the same room. She's opening the door, peeking out the door. He was like, "Are you up?" And she tried to close the door. He was like, "I already saw you, girl." So she comes out and she tells him that the queen is going to have a luncheon and she's going to make an appearance basically to support her brother. And then she goes, "Where were you?" And he was like, "What does it matter?" And she was like, "Is this what our marriage is going to be like? You coming in at all hours of the night, all out in town with God knows who." And he was like, "With who?" He was like, "Oh, you already don't trust me." He was like, "We only been in this shit for 3 weeks and you already think I'm being disloyal to you?" And she was like, "Well, we know your reputation. Honey, you married a rake. He didn't marry you. You married him, honey. Well, what do you think? We know of your reputation." He was like, "There's nothing left. Is there nothing left of our marriage? Is this what it's gonna be?" And then they start making out, right? So then he faces the nation, right? He faces the nation, and then when he comes up from speaking to the nation, she was like, "Let's go in the other room," right? Because she's ready. She's ready to, take it all the way. He was like, "No, I'm not doing that. We can't do this. If you're with child, I will do what I'm supposed to do. I will take care of my responsibility. But if we find out you're not with child, we will live separately. We will only be married by name. We will live separately. I will go about my business and you'll go about your business." And that's what it is. So Daphne is like, "What the hell?" Like, she is really upset about that. Daphne and Marina and Colin meet up, right? So we know that Daphne is the chaperone. So he asked her, "Is what Lady Whistledown wrote true?" And she was like, "Yes, I am pregnant." He was like, "How could you be so cruel to me? How could you do that to me?" And she was like, "Cruel? I had to do what I had to do. Don't come in here trying to shame me. I had to do what I had to do. I didn't have any help and I didn't have no other choice. Don't try that shit with me." And then he goes, "You know what? You lied. You were going to trick me into a fraud of a marriage." And honey, Daphne looks up like, "Honey, you trying to say something?" And she was like, "But you," and the worst part of it, Colin said, "The worst part of all of this is that I liked you so much that if you were honest with me, I would have taken you just as you were. And that's where you fucked up." And he was really sad. He really liked Marina. And I kept thinking, like, goddamn, Marina, you can't she can't catch a break. She just really can't. I hope her story turns around for her. He walks out. He was like, this is the last time we're going to have a conversation. And that was it. So he had to get his closure and he left. So at the Queen's luncheon, everybody sees the Daphne and the Duke, and everybody is happy to see them. And they were like, oh, I hope that you're pregnant, girl. And so, Simon is putting 10 on 20. He was like, oh, yes, we are really trying. We are doing the best to give you a child, honey. Give the Queen a child. The Queen wants a child out of this family. So he was like, we're doing everything we can. And Daphne's looking at Simon like, you motherfucker, you. And then when she walks away, she was like, you are a good liar. And he was like, I learned from the best. And Violet's looking like, oh my God, baby, they are sending Violet through it. Do you hear me? Her kids sending her through. I'm surprised she don't drink, because she's looking like, what the hell is happening? He was like, okay. So Benedict and Henry meet up, right? So we know what happened with Benedict, and he went to the house of hedonism the other night, and he saw that Henry was in fact gay. And he also made out with his wife. When they meet up at the Queen's luncheon, he's kind of short with him. And so he's like, I wonder what's wrong with him. Maybe he's just not comfortable. That's what it seems like to me. So the Queen wants to see Eloise. So Eloise is over there talking to the Queen. And she was like, well, who is Lady Whistledown? And she was like, I need to know. I'm impatient. Your Queen commands it. So hurry up and figure out who she is. I'm asking you. So Eloise is on the case, honey. Lady Danbury invites Daphne to an event, and she's like, okay. And then she was like, it's for married ladies only. So it's women's only for married women. Honey, the Featheringtons show up, right? And everybody's looking at them like, honey, one lady says, the audacity. Like, how could you show your face after what happened in your family, right? So they're coming in, everybody's looking at them. Featherington walks up to Violet Bridgerton, and she tells her, girl, I cannot believe that Marina, she tricked me too. I didn't know nothing about it, and I had no idea. So then the Queen's butler comes up. I don't know what the official name of him. I'm calling him a butler. You know who I'm talking about. A little portly man, looks like Humpty Dumpty. He is dressed like Humpty Dumpty and everything else. He comes up and he said, Miss Featherington, you have been asked to leave. And she was like, what? Gone, girl, and get on out of here. Daphne runs over to the garden. She gets in the garden. I guess she just needs some time to herself. And she's standing there, and her mother comes in, and she goes, what's going on? Are you okay? And she was like, marriage has its trials and its joys. And she goes, what's happening with you? And she was like, maybe I can help you. And she was like, girl, you didn't help me enough. You didn't tell me. You sent me out into the world blind. You didn't tell me anything about anything, nothing. And she was like, whatever do you mean? Girl, how could you be so oblivious? That's why I was like, what did she say? Whatever do you mean? Girl, what you didn't tell her. You know what you didn't tell her. And she got mad. She was like, you sent me in the world like a fool. You never showed me anything, told me anything about marital relations, nothing. She's yelling at her. As she was yelling at her, Lady Danbury sees, she walks into the entrance of the garden, and she stands there and she looks, and then Daphne just runs off. I mean, honestly, there are a lot of parents who send their children out into the world, be it, I don't know, by cell phone or just sending them out without any knowledge of themselves. I have met grown women who have never seen their vagina and their pussy. They've never seen it before. They've never looked at it before. I have met so many women like that, and like almost to the point like they're ashamed of it. They're ashamed to talk about it. It's supposed to be shameful. It's really sad, and you do your children a disservice when you do that. And I would say especially girls, but no, you do boys a disservice too. And what in Bridgerton, all the boys know about the birds and the bees. Even the brother was like, you never seen anything happen on a farm, like you don't know what happens. And to the point she didn't even understand that he was pulling out, that he was ejaculating. She didn't get any of that. So the fact that she didn't even know her basic biological functions, that's sad. It's really, really sad. Anyways, Daphne visits the Featheringtons, and she wants to talk to Marina alone. And she tells her that she has come to apologize to her, and that she understands that she did what she had to do. So Marina tells Daphne about Sir George and how he's off in the army or whatever. And she was like, what if I can find them? And she was like, what do you mean? He doesn't even care about me. And she was like, well, do you want to be here with no rank, no protection, no support? Why does he get to choose your future? I said, come on, Daphne. She was like, why does he get to choose your future? I can make him come back and be responsible for what he's done to you. He cannot do this to you and get away with it. Now, you acted like he did more than just get her pregnant. But you see how severe it is? You cannot be out here with no name, no support, no protection. If anything, he has to take care of his responsibility. He has to, or it will dishonor him in his community. Baby, hello. Honey, that don't it don't work like that. Times have changed, baby. Times have changed. If it really worked like that, baby, we could talk about that another day. She was like, I can help you. And she was like, okay. So Featherington talks to Will, Lord Featherington. He goes and talks to Will, the boxer. And he tells him basically that I'm in a pickle. I know you want some money. I need some money. Throw the fight. And he was like, no, my honor is not for sale. And he was like, listen, I'm going to break it down to you. What you do, nobody is ever going to respect you. You are entertainment to us. Okay? I said, oh, all these themes going on in this show. He was like, and I'm sure your father would not want to look at you and see what you've become. And this is what you're doing to your family. If you have an opportunity to solve your issues, I need to save my family too. Think about it and call me. So Will's looking all crazy and looking at his card later. Daphne accepts Danbury's invite after she sees Simon. They cross paths in the corridor and they're giving each other dirty looks. And then she tells Rose, tell Lady Danbury I'll be at her little party tonight. So, honey, when she arrives, it's a motherfucking soiree, honey. They're in there smoking, drinking, gambling. I was like, this is my kind of party. Lady Danbury says, welcome to my den of iniquity. I said, yes, ma'am. Anyway, so Daphne is really concerned about speaking to the general's wife because she wants to get in contact with Sir George for Marina. So that's her point of being here. But she ends up having a really good time. She's playing poker. They drinking. The girls, they drinking out the bottle. Baby, I love when she got to the general's wife. I can't remember her name. Langham, I think that's her name. And she tells her, do you think that you can get in contact with your husband? She was like, honey, I don't even know where he is. I ain't seen him or whatever. And she said something. I enjoy the fruits of marriage without his company. He does what he does. I do what I do. I'm protected. I'm under his name. I live my life and he does whatever the hell he does. I said, yes, well, I was here for that lady. I was here for all of it. She was like, and then she was like, but what about your kids? And she was like, how can you miss somebody you ain't ever met? I said, oh my God. Baby, let me tell you how many women, if they could enter the protections, the real legitimate protections of marriage, the way that was supposed to be before people started getting married for love. If that was really true, you know how many women, like modern women, would be like, okay, well, I want the protection. I'll go ahead and if the name has equity, did you hear what I said? If the name has equity, then you want to align yourself with the man who has a name who carries some weight, right? And then if he wants to be gone and everything like that, honey, I'm married. I got everything. He takes care of me because that's what he's supposed to do. Otherwise, the town would look at him crazy, right? Because it's dishonorable not to take care of your responsibilities in the community. It's dishonorable. I'm just saying. I was here for all of it. So anyway, she says that we'll get in contact with him. If you write him, he'll probably respond to you. He ain't going to respond to me, girl. So try and write him and see what he says. So they have a good time. The next morning you see Lady Danbury drinking, like just sitting in the hall that she was in where she had her party, and she's drinking and just enjoying. Like a lot of people, I've been seeing a lot of different reviews about Lady Danbury and how she's a darker complected person and she's single and she doesn't have a man. It's like, honey, she's living in that damn castle with whoever she wants. She has her parties, everything. Honey, I'm here for Lady Danbury. She don't, honey, her not being with a man doesn't make me feel any kind of way. It don't make me feel no kind of way. Back at the gentleman's club, Anthony and Simon are having a conversation and they're drinking or whatever. At one point, Anthony thinks he sees Sienna, and it's another person, of course. So he was like, what happened with you and my sister? What's going on? Because everybody wants to know, like, why are you guys in town? You guys need to be all fucking, like, what's up? And he was like, what did you do to my sister? He was like, how do you know it's something that I did? He was like, I know my sister wouldn't mess up. He was like, well, I'm just trying to keep my word. I gave you my word that I would treat your sister and take care of your sister. I'm going to keep my word with that. Has the nerve to be like, you know, you don't even know how to keep a household because you didn't have a father. That's why you don't know how to keep a household. Honey, they was coming at each other for not having daddies. And he turned around, he says, well, you sure do make it look difficult, because you know the Bridgerton father is dead too, right? But the difference is that Simon wasn't raised by his father, and his father was an asshole. But if you're the firstborn son and you're supposed to be taking care of your family, look at your family. You ain't doing a great job either, bruh, at all. Hello? So when he starts telling him, Anthony was shaking his head like, man, don't start with me. He was triggered, and they ended up fighting. He basically attacks Simon, and they get into this big fight. Back at the house, Simon is in the house, like, you know, trying to get himself together, his wound. And Daphne comes in from, I don't know where she came from. Where did Daphne come home? She came from the party? Was that the party she was at? I don't know. Anyways, and she's helping him fix his eye. And she asked him, why won't you unfold to me? Why won't you unfold yourself to me? I was like, oh, that's so cute. She was like, a child would be such a blessing. And he was like, he basically told her, look, I swore to my father on his deathbed that the line ends with me. He was a raggedy ass man, and I would never produce another child that carries his name. Honey, we need to put this on a billboard somewhere. If your daddy was raggedy, you let the line end with you, honey. Don't let his raggedy ass, dusty ass name live on in infamy. End it with you. And she was like, that's crazy that you would make a promise to your father not to live in a happy life and have children. How could you do that? How could you make a vow to someone that you don't even fucking deal with, and you make a vow to me and go against it? Like, come on, like, you can't do that. She was like, is that what this is about? You made a vow to me. You told me that you couldn't have children, not that you didn't want to have children. And then she was like, I mean, you would rather keep your word to somebody who's dead and didn't give a shit about you than to actually have a family and be happy? He was like, it can't be undone. She said, well, if I don't get my period in a few days, then you know if you broke, which vow you broke. And then we'll be on our way. And then either if I have a baby, we can be miserable together, or if I'm not, then we'll be happy apart. So Lady Whistledown, I guess it's Lady Whistledown's letter. Yeah, she goes, they're talking about Daphne and the Duke saying that they're not taking any callers, meaning they're not having any company. They're not making any social appearances or anything like that. So they must be off somewhere fucking, but she's not pregnant yet. Daphne and Marina. Daphne goes to Marina and she tells her, I wrote the general. And she was like, oh my God, did the Duke sign it? And she was like, no, I wrote him. She was like, girl, he's not going to listen to you. You a woman. Basically, that's what she told her. So Anthony apologizes to Colin for, you know, what he did. He basically told him, you didn't know this girl, you really got yourself in a fucked up situation or whatever. But he was like, I understand what it's like to you know, like somebody. And it's a lot of non-traditional things that are happening, and that's causing conflict in these houses, right? They're getting ready for the Queen's Opera. Violet tells Eloise that, you know, we're getting ready for your debutante, and, you know, she's getting her crown. She looks so pretty, Eloise. She had her hair up. She had this little crown going across the front, little band, and she looks so pretty. And her mother tells her, you know what? You can hold off on your debutante. You don't have to come out. If you're not ready, we don't want to rush you into anything. So when you're ready, then you can come out. They're getting ready to go to the opera, and Daphne is in the mirror looking at herself, and she's rubbing her stomach, and the Duke sees her, and then she sees him, and she takes her hands off of her stomach and she walks away. So at the opera, Benedict sees Henry and he's like, he asks him to come talk to him, right? So he was like, what is going on with you? What is happening? Like, I see you with a man. I see you with your wife. What is going on? He says, I'm in love with a man. I forgot what his name was. Oh, Lord Weatherby. I think that's what his name was. And he was like, but you're married. He was like, listen, she's my beard. Marriage affords me safety. It affords her freedom and protection to do what she wants. I'm here for all of it. And he said, and it's probably me and my wife's union is probably happier than most of the people in this room. I said, I know that's right. But what about honor and what about romance? Henry said, you know what? I risk every day for love. I can't even look at him because if anybody catches me glancing at him in any kind of way, that can mean my safety. So I risk myself every day for love. What you gonna do? Henry says it takes courage to live outside traditional expectations society has designed and created for you. Living outside of the societal standards and traditions is where a lot of people are in the LGBTQ community. It is true. They have rejected what society has told them is the standard. And the standard is a man and a woman go together. No, we're rejecting that. And in this time, you can be all out and out, right? In this, I mean, you could say in this fictional time, but it's true. And that's just what it is. Queen tells Eloise that she doesn't need her help. She is going to basically go down to where Lady Whistledown prints her circulars, and she's going to find out who she is that way. She doesn't need her help anymore. She was like, you're going to try to silence her? She was like, yeah. She was like, girl, that is not what we're going to do. Eloise was like, no, we not. So anyways, Marina is in the kitchen, right? She goes and gets some herbs. She is going to try to make a concoction to give herself or to terminate her pregnancy. I was like, Marina, you really don't, she really doesn't have anybody. She can't ask anybody anything. She feels like this, she's just making choices out of desperation. And when you do that, you're always going to make a mistake. Trust me, okay? Eloise and Benedict are leaving the opera, and he stops at Lady Delacroix's, at the Modice's business or whatever. Very awkward because we all know that Benedict, first of all, isn't supposed to be rolling around town with the likes of the Modice, right? Not supposed to be doing that. Her and Sienna are friends. Isn't that ironic? I just thought of that. Sienna and Lady Delacroix were homegirls, and Sienna was fucking Anthony. So when they start talking about the opera, and she was like, everybody was there, and she was like, yep, everybody except for the Whistledowns. I mean, no, everybody except for the Featheringtons. And so Eloise is thinking like, wait a minute, who could it be? So she is sitting across from Lady Delacroix. She was like, oh, bitch, you Lady Whistledown. All right. So she's looking all nervous. And Benedict was like, are you okay? She was like thinking in her head like, So at the opera, Anthony sees Sienna with her new man, right? He's in the balcony. She's down below. She looks up and she sees him. She grabs her boyfriend's hand. Then later they show the Duke grabbing Daphne's hand. And as he grabs her hand, I guess every time he gets ready to soften up, something happens. Honey, she goes, honey, she just started her period. She runs into another room. She's looking, it's just blood everywhere, whatever. Her mother comes in and hugs her, and she's crying, and you could kind of, I don't know if the way that they made it seem as she was crying and it was like kind of echoing, but I know that Simon couldn't hear her in the opera, but his eyes were watering too, and I think he knew, like, oh, she started her period. Penelope goes and knocks on Marina's door, and she's like, Marina, are you there? Marina, are you there? And she opens the door, and Marina is passed out on the floor. Her lips are blue. She's yelling to her mother, make haste, make haste. Marina, I don't know what happened to Marina. So we don't know what happened to Marina, honey. We know what happened, but we don't know what happened for those who haven't watched it yet. Okay. Anyways, and that was it for the episode, you guys. This was actually a pretty good episode. It's kind of slow, but a lot of information, basically. Anyways, take care of each other. Protect your energy. Let's get down in the comments. Peace.